Hey everyone, we're working on measurement today, chapter 5, page 49 of your workbook. So you can either write on paper or you can write right in the workbook, but nonetheless, you're going to copy down what I write in the videos, or you can just do it on your own. Sometimes I'll ask you to pause the video and do the classwork. And then you're going to take a photo and convert it to a PDF file and submit it in Canvas. You can also ask me questions through there as well. The first page is just some examples about measurement. This should be pretty much review for you, but you may not have done it in a while, but you can read through this, like what measurement is about. We're going to start with length. And here's just some examples, like the length of a piece of paper, we would say 8.5 by 11 inches. When we're running, we usually talk about miles. So we would say Peter Piper ran 4.3 miles. We're going to start in actually on page 50. So we're going to look at the equivalence and conversion factors for customary units of length. So the equivalents are written here, 12 inches to 1 foot. I could actually write that as a fraction. We call that a unit fraction because it equals 1, because anything over itself, if they're equivalent, would equal 1. And it's a nice method that we use. It's called unit analysis or dimensional analysis. And we would use that to do conversions. So later in our problem solving unit, we have a lot going on with the conversions, and we have rates mixed in there and things. So it's good to get down these basics, especially if it's been a while for you. So the first example here is 5.2. So you'll just, write what I write in the video, and then, you'll snap your picture and submit the PDF. You'll also do the classwork, just one document, all goes together. So 9 feet to inches, the first thing we want to do is just write down, what we're given. And I'll try to note here, like this is an actual example that I'm doing. Again, you can pause any of these and just do them on your own if you want. But we're going to put down 9 feet. And you do want to write out the units there so you can know what's going on. And I just put that over 1. Okay. And then I'm going to multiply instead of using the proportion method. That's a legit way to go as well, but I want to teach you this unit analysis using unit fractions because it'll serve us later. And then I draw a line here, and then I put the units that I want to get rid of, the feet, crisscross here. So I want to put them on the diagonal because I can reduce any top with any bottom. And then what I'm going for is inches. So I'm going to write that up here in the numerator. Now I have to look, what is my equivalency that I'm working with? So if I'm doing inches to feet, I'm going to look up here and see that I have 12 inches to 1 foot. Okay, so I maybe just abbreviate FT so then it looks a little better, right? And then what we can do is reduce, we simplify before we multiply, and we're going to cross out feet with feet. So we are actually reducing units because anything over itself is 1. And we can multiply here by this fraction because it's just a form of 1 as shown here. Anything over itself is 1. So I can multiply any number by 1 to manipulate it to be in a different format. So that's what we're going for here. And then when we work this out, we're just going to multiply across the tops. 9 times the 12 inches. And make sure you also write the unit. So we get 108 inches, and that's that. So here's another one that's similar, yards to feet. So you're going to be looking at this fraction here, this conversion. You're going to be looking right here. So that I'll write as a classwork, and you can pause the video and see if you can figure out how to set that up, and then check back and I'll write it out, and you can see how you did. So the answer for that one, 7 yards to feet, would be 21 feet. Again, I'm just putting what I have over 1 and then multiplying by the unit fraction. I want to set it up so I have yards in the denominator of my unit fraction and then feet, what I'm trying to go for, in the numerator. And the yards just cancel out and I multiply across. I just do whatever operation is there. So that way you don't always have to wonder, like, do I multiply? Do I divide? Is that, what's happening there? The expression here dictates the operation. It's always going to be multiply across, and then you would divide by if there's anything left in the denominator at that point. So we'll show some like that. And then sometimes you have to do more than one unit fraction to get from one place to another. So I'm going to actually skip this one here for now. We'll do that one as a classwork momentarily. I want to show you this 4,325 yards to miles. I'm going to show you this one and how I would separate it out. So first I write what I have. I have 4,325 yards. I'm just going to put that over 1. So it's always the given over 1. And then I have to think about where I'm going to. I want to eventually get to miles, but I don't have that direct conversion up here. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. So I just have feet to miles. So let's go from yards to feet first, and then we'll work our way down. So we're going to multiply by, I want my yards on the bottom, and I would want my feet on the top. So there's 3 feet in 1 yard. And I know those are they're crisscross so they can cross out. Then I want to go from the feet to the mile. So again, I'm going to always write on the diagonal. So it's different than proportional method. You would keep your units on the same, like if you had miles in the top, you would keep your miles in the top. But with dimensional analysis, it's always the opposite. So now we know we have 1 mile to 5,280 feet. Okay, so now I go through and I go ahead and cross out my units here just to make sure that I did that all correctly. And then I'm going to write across the top. I'm going to multiply across the top. So I'm just going to write that out. And then it's just 1 mile at the end. All divided by, and I should be left with no units in the denominator because I'm not working with a rate. 5,280, the 1 times the 1, let's write that there for now, times the 5,280, and then I go ahead and just calculate that. So I'm going to multiply 4,325 times 3, and then I'm going to divide by 5,280 and just punch that into a calculator. If you do it all in one sitting, make sure you use parentheses there, and you should get about, we're going to round, so we're going to use this approximation symbol. You should get about 2.46 miles. So that's how many miles from the 4,325 yards. It should be a smaller number. So if I'm starting with a smaller unit and then I'm going to a larger unit, my number part is going to shrink down, and that just covers that same space. So a couple of other things just to think about would be, what are you given? Where are you trying to go? and then kind of set up your start and your end. And can I get there directly, or do I have to have something else in the middle? You also want to think, am I going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit like this one? If you are, then your number part should shrink down. Okay. If it's the other way around, it's gonna work differently. Like this one, we had 7 yards to feet. So I'm starting with a larger unit going to a smaller unit. So then my number part is going to actually increase to cover that same space. So you can kind of think of it more intuitively. And I know some of you might just be like, well, why can't I just divide by blah, blah, blah. That's fine. You can do that if you want to just, you know, when you're working through your homeworks or whatever. But what we're trying to learn here is a method that we're going to apply later. So we're using some simpler problems just so you can learn the technique. And in science, this is used a lot. We're also going to be using it for the ratio problems that are all mixed in miles per hour and things like that. So it gets a little more complex. So now pause the video and work on this one here, 12,356 feet converted to miles, and then check back on the answer. Okay, so for this problem, when we divide out the 12,356 over 5,280, we actually get 2.34011515. It repeats, but in general, just round to 2 places unless otherwise specified. Or based on the context, if it's a word problem, it makes sense sometimes to always round up or always round down. Or round to the nearest whole number or something like that. So you need to kind of judge that according to the problem, so you'll kind of get the gist of that. A lot of times I will put the specific instructions, or in my Open Math, the electronic system, there's some specific instructions on how to round. Okay, so we're going to end this video with this word problem, and then you'll move on to the next video. I just want to keep them kind of short. So we have a hardware store has 2 sales on tubing. 3 yards of tubing A is on sale for $5.49, and 2 feet of tubing B's sale price is $1.88. Since either tubing is acceptable for your project, which tubing is less expensive? So let's figure out what the better deal is on this one. So we're going to find out the price per yard on that. So this is just a different kind of way of looking at a rate here using our measurement. So for A, I have 3 yards. And for B, let me write that a little differently. I'll just write here. I have 3 yards. For B, I'm given the information in feet, so I do need to do a conversion first. And I'm going to convert from feet to yards. So if I have 2 feet over 1 times 1 yard over 3 feet, that's going to give me 2/3 of a yard. So that way my units match. So that's an important thing to note. And then I'm going to now figure out the price per yard on each of them. So for A, my sale is $5.49. So if I'm going for price per yard, I want to do price over yard. So money comes on the top. That way it won't kind of be worked around upside down. So I can get the dollars per yard. So I just go ahead and divide those out, and I get $1.83 per yard. Make sure you put your units there. So that was for A. And for B, I'm going to let you do that one. You could do that one for classwork. So figure out the price per yard, and then you can tell me which is the better deal. So pause the video and get that one done. So for part B, we have $1.88 over 2/3. I can multiply by the reciprocal here, and I get $2.82 per yard. You could actually just key in a fraction using the fraction key on a calculator or in Desmos and type that in. Would be fine as well. I always allow calculators in here. I do want to see like what you're typing into the calculator and what you're filling in for problems, but give me some in-between steps if it's a long problem, especially if you're expecting some partial credit on a quiz. That is helpful. Or if you need feedback on how the problem should go and you're not getting it right, I need to kind of see some steps there. But you can often just use a calculator. All right, so that wraps up this first part of the measurement, and have a wonderful day.